We're basically surrounded by visual effects every single time we look at a screen. But have you ever really stopped to think about where the true magic is? It's not just in the big, loud spectacle that we see. It's in the quiet, perfect artistry that we don't. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that hidden world, the invisible art of VFX. So, when someone says visual effects, this is probably what pops into your head, right? A literal tidal wave of zombies, maybe a planet exploding, something huge, spectacular, and obviously made in a computer. It's the kind of epic scene that just screams blockbuster. But, and this is the key, the vast majority of visual effects work is actually more like this. Take a good close look. The image on top, that's what the set really looks like. The bottom one is the final shot. See what they did? Artists digitally painted out all the modern stuff, the graffiti, the AC units, the satellite dishes, to make this street look like it's from another time. That right there, that is the invisible art.
All right, first up, let's dive right into the invisible art of VFX and unpack why it's so much more than just CGI.
Okay, so this is a super common mix-up. People use CGI and VFX like they're the same thing, but they're really not. Think of it this way. VFX, or visual effects, is the whole big umbrella. It's any image that gets tweaked after it's filmed. CGI, computer-generated imagery, is just one of the tools under that umbrella. So yeah, adding a CG dragon is VFX, but so is simply erasing a microphone that accidentally dipped into the frame. So now let's open up a filmmaker's magic toolkit and see exactly why VFX is, well, absolutely everywhere.
At its core, VFX is basically a creative problem-solving machine. You need to build a fantasy world that could never exist? No problem. You need to make a small building look like a skyscraper, add 1,000 people to a concert, or fix a little mistake that happened during a perfect take? VFX is your answer. And, honestly, it saves productions a ton of time and, you guessed it, a ton of money.
Just look at this. It's a perfect example of how a small change can totally elevate the mood of a scene. This was shot on a pretty average day, but the story needed this, perfect romantic vibe. So, in post-production, VFX artists changed the time of day, painted in a beautiful golden hour sky, and even adjusted the water to fit the director's vision. It's the same place, but it feels completely different. And speaking of saving money, VFX is a total game changer here. I mean, why would you hire, dress, feed, and manage hundreds of extras when you can just shoot a much smaller group and use a technique called crowd tiling? Basically, artists can digitally copy and paste that small group over and over again to create the illusion of a massive teeming crowd. It's brilliant. You can almost think of VFX as a safety net. So imagine this. An actor gives the performance of a lifetime. It's just perfect. But, oh no, a crew member accidentally walked into the back of the shot. In the old days, that take was garbage. You'd have to do it again. But today, a VFX artist can just digitally paint them out, and that perfect moment is saved forever. Okay, so we know why filmmakers use the effects, but what about the how? How does a shot actually get built from the ground up? Let's take a little journey from pixels to picture and look at a simplified version of the VFX pipeline. When you boil it down, creating something in a computer usually follows these 5 key stages. First, you have modeling. That's basically digital sculpting, creating the 3D shape. Then comes texturing, which is like painting or wallpapering that sculpture. Then, of course, animation, making it move. After that, and this is crucial, it has to be lit to perfectly match the real footage. And finally, everything gets blended together in a step called compositing. So let's see how this works with a real-world example. This shot from the series Sons of Liberty starts with this piece of footage. In the industry, they call this the plate. And what's wild here is that the only things that are actually real are the actors, the gate, and that low bit of wall. Everything else you'll see is about to be created from scratch. So step 1 is modeling. A 3D artist gets to work building the geometry of the house. They have to be incredibly careful to match the perspective and scale of the physical set, so it feels like a totally natural extension of what was actually filmed on the day. Next up, texturing. And I love this analogy. You can think of it like digitally gift wrapping that 3D model. Artists take photographic textures of brick, wood, shingles, all that stuff, and apply them to the bare digital shapes. This gives them realistic surfaces that will catch the light in just the right way. And here it is, the final shot. All those digital elements, the house, the fence, the sky in the background, they're all seamlessly blended with that original live-action plate. This final magical step, which we're going to look at right now, is called compositing. Compositing really is the secret sauce. It's the linchpin that holds the whole illusion together. It's where the digital and the real are carefully stitched into one image. It's kind of like a delicate visual surgery, adjusting color, light, focus, even film grain, to trick your brain into believing every single element was captured by the same camera at the exact same moment. Now, all of this incredibly detailed work, it all serves one ultimate goal, the quest for realism. So let's talk about how artists actually make the unreal believable. To really understand digital realism, let's just go back in time and look at a masterpiece of practical effects. This Triceratops from Jurassic Park feels so real because, well, it was real. It was a massive physical puppet right there on set. It was being hit by the same sunlight, it was breathing the same air, and the actors were literally touching it. By definition, it's photoreal because it was photographed for real. And that right there is the secret.
That's the whole game for VFX artists. They're not just trying to make something that looks real in a vacuum, they're trying to perfectly replicate that feeling of physical presence. The goal is to make a digital object sit in the footage so perfectly that our brain just accepts it was there when they filmed it.
You can really break this whole quest for realism down into 3 levels. First, you need accurate detail. I mean, if the model itself is wrong, nothing else is going to matter. Second, it needs plausible movement. It has to feel like it obeys the laws of physics. But that final level, the hardest one by far, is photoreal integration. If the lighting and the color aren't a perfect one-to-one match with the real-world footage, our brains will always know that something is just a little bit off.
So, what's next? Where is all this technology heading? Well, it's evolving at an absolutely incredible speed, and the future is all about being real-time.
For decades, if you wanted to see what a final VFX shot looked like, you had to hit render, and then wait. Sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. But now, thanks to these insanely powerful graphics processors coming out of the video game industry, it's possible to see nearly finished visual effects live on set. It's completely blurring the lines between shooting and post-production, giving filmmakers more creative freedom than they've ever had before.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty fascinating question, doesn't it? As this technology continues to advance, as the line between what's real and what's rendered gets blurrier and blurrier until it almost disappears, what new kinds of stories are we going to be able to tell? What new worlds will we get to see?